Button is on. We have security. Good man. Call to order the work session, April the 8th, 2024. The invocation will be provided by Central Church of Christ Pastor Ryan Ari. Pledge of Allegiance by Commissioner Tommy Ledford. Please stand.
Let us all pray together. Father God, we love you so much. We thank you for waking us each up this morning. We thank you for allowing us to enjoy another beautiful day that you've blessed us with. Father, every day is just a reminder of how amazing and powerful and beautiful you are. And today, Father, even as we enjoy another eclipse, we notice the beauty, your handiwork, and your creative power. But Father, we are mindful of the occasion that's happening right now. I pray that you would be with each commissioner this morning. Father, I pray that you would be with them in their leadership, help them to listen to the voices of their community today, help them to make decisions that would always be for the betterment of our community here in Bradley County. Father, we are not only thankful for them, but we're thankful for their families, and I pray that you would continue to be with them and continue to allow them to lead well. Father, we're mindful of Tim Mason. We're mindful of the accident and all the things that are taking place in his life. Father, I pray that you would wrap your arms of love and comfort around him at this time. Again, Father, we thank you for this occasion, and I pray that you would help us each to love you more each day and to seek out ways that we can love you more in our lives. In Christ's name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
Attention, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Now we'll go to the report from the county mayor. Mayor Davis, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good afternoon, everyone. You have two resolutions in front of you that I would like to respectfully ask be put on next week's agenda. The first one is authorizing the Hiawassee Utilities Commission of Bradley and McMinn County to negotiate and purchase some adjoining property that they're looking to purchase up there near Charleston. If someone would put that on the agenda, and then I'll try to answer any questions.
And then I have
Done.
one question. I'll put it on the agenda and ask one question.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah.
He's putting it on the agenda. What's your question?
Mayor, so obviously they've always paid. Sorry? It is on. Can you hear me? Yeah. So they've always picked up their own tab and we underwrite this. Does that increase what we have to underwrite as far as?
I guess the answer to your question is they are financially obligated to do this themselves. It's no obligation on our part. And then the property would be deeded to Bradley County as it is right now. So no obligation.
Thank you.
Any other questions? If not, the other resolution is something that we already have in place, but it's expired, and it's a agreement with the City of Charleston to pay for some services that the Sheriff's Department will be providing them. If someone would put that on the agenda, please.
Anyone put that on the agenda? Commissioner Hughes, put it on the
Thank you.
agenda.
And if you have any questions between now and next week on either one of those, just let me know, okay? And I'll try to get an answer for you. That's all I have at this time, Mr. Chairman.
That's great. We'll now go to the reports from committees and/or districts. We'll start on our left with Commissioner Rogers, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Nothing to report today. Just do want to wish Miss Moultrie a happy birthday today.
Well, thank you. Commissioner Ledford, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As the preacher said, Tim called me this morning about his daughter had an accident on APD 40. Everything was good. She was not injured. And then his brother, Greg, suffered signs of a possible stroke, so they've airlifted him to Erlanger. So let's do all keep Tim in our prayers and lift him up. And I also just want to mention about Relay for Life is the 20th. Let's not forget about the relay. It's a big activity that we do downtown town here. And of course, I'll be entered into the ice cream eating contest and be taking donations for that for anybody that's interested. Last week, we had Mr. Rob Harnd come in talking about an issue that he had out on Blue Springs Road. I talked to Rob Saturday. Since the article that Grant put in, which thank you for that, Grant, that helped somewhat. He said it was pretty quiet Thursday and Friday, and Saturday morning they actually got to sleep in. But I actually went down there yesterday and talked to him. We just kind of talked, and everything was okay. He said Saturday evening was a little bit noisy, but I mean that's just typical of neighborhood. He said, but nothing like it was in the video that we've seen. So everything hopefully will get better with that situation, we hope. And I did go to the Hot Slaw Festival, and that was nice, quite crowded. A lot of slaw around. But other than that, Mr. Chairman, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Slater.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Last week, I placed on the April 15th voting session agenda a motion to approve a letter to our federal legislative delegation supporting the Bradley County Schools FEMA Hazard Mitigation Grant application for the Science Wing Safe House at Bradley Central High School. Our hope is the letter will encourage our senators and representatives to support the application and fund the project, which will benefit and protect our community for years to come. Each of you have a copy of the letter that will be voted on next week. Also, Mr. Chairman, several of us toured Hopewell Elementary School last Friday to better understand the needs of the school. If you didn't get a chance to tour the Hopewell School, just ask any of us that did tour it how cramped and cavernous parts of the campus are. I appreciate Principal Winters and Dr. Cash for taking time to show us the challenges at the school and to share ways that we can improve the facility in the future. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Commissioner Goins, please.
5th District's doing well. I have nothing to report. Thank you.
Commissioner Thompson.
I have nothing to report for 4th District. Thank you, Chairman.
Commissioner Gilbert.
I've learned this week about how expensive it is to have a contractor or contract signed by going to the schools, and it's pretty expensive. But I'd like to just give a shout out to Judge Morgan and Vicki Towns. They had a contractor come in and give them a $100,000 bid to redo the stand up there where the judge is and all the seats and everything. And they turned it down, and they done it for $16,000 themselves. And if you want to see something really nice, go over and look at it. They done an amazing job. And there was a young man there that was in one of the programs. His name's Elijah. I won't say his last name, but his name was Elijah. And we had him up. He is the future of Bradley County, and he went through one of these programs. And he had told us, he said, probation, he said, you can come back and do about whatever you want to. He said, but this program kept him grounded, and it gave him somebody to be able to talk to. And he's done really good in this program. And I'd like to give them the award for taking care of the taxpayers' money and watching over us. That's all for me.
Thank you. Commissioner Collins, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. All is well in the third. I have nothing to report.
Commissioner Blake.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a reminder that this Thursday, the Finance Committee will have the budget hearings. I believe the IT, planning, fire, roads, and EMA. It will be called to order. Other than that, that's all I have. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Alford, please.
Yes, second district's doing well. I do have one thing, excuse me, one thing I'd like to place on the agenda from the Sheriff's Department. The Sheriff's Office plans to submit Congressman Chuck Flashman's office a request for fiscal year 2025 community project funding, which would allow them to apply for the COPS Technology and Equipment Program. The Sheriff seeks tech forward initiative funding for rugged laptops for patrol vehicles and direct internet connectivity for placement of general purpose laptops and replace hotspots. A letter of support from us, the legislative body, would significantly boost this request for funding. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to place this on the April 15th voting session, that we submit a letter supporting this request for a grant.
Done. Is that all, sir? Commissioner Hughes, please. Please.
Thank you all. I know you're busy. I won't keep you. I think I met with Commissioner Hughes and the Solid Waste Committee in February, and there was a request made of us at that meeting. Since I've spoken with and met with Commissioner Hughes a couple of times, and with that being brief, I hope we've listened. Effective May 1st, we're going to reduce the price of mattress disposal at the landfill to $25 a mattress. So Commissioner Hughes allowed me to get up and say that today. I just wanted to let you all know that. So thank you. Try to communicate. And thank you, sir.
Thank you.
David, I think it's a way of showing that shows how Republic is working with the community to try to help them or better them.
We're trying to listen and enjoy the conversation, and when we can listen and when we can make some things happen, we'll be more than happy to do it.
Thank you, David.
Thank you, sir.
Blake has a question.
If you don't mind, it's kind of a different. It's my understanding, if I remember correctly, that you guys set a policy that you would accept cash when people come in and out of the landfill. Is that the case?
Yes, sir. At the convenience center.
As you exit out that little white building there, when you exit, I just want to make sure I get my facts straight.
We accept cash at the convenience center.
Only at the convenience center.
That's correct.
I apologize. What's the
small bag disposal from the citizens?
Small bag disposal. So the little white building, and I apologize not knowing my terminology, but when you go in there and you back up and you offload stuff, that's not what you're referring to.
Are you speaking of the scale house?
I guess so, yeah.
No.
The scale house, you only can use credit cards. At the convenience center, cash only.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Gilbert.
That's what he cleared it up. You're talking about where you bring and just dump garbage at the dump, not at the one. What's the one down the road here called? Exchange Center?
The convenience center?
Is that what it's called, convenience center?
So you all operate that.
No, you're talking about
Okay.
different locations.
All right, that's ours. So they ain't taking cash either.
Okay, anyone else? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Y'all
you
have a nice day.
lowering it to 25. Is there anything else, sir?
Mr. Chairman, I have nothing else. Thank you.
Commissioner Beatty.
Everything's doing well in the first district.
Thank you very much. We'll now move along to the agenda items. Agenda item A, Commissioner Mike Hughes.
Chairman, it's a resolution to rezone from rural residential property located 37 southeast. And then this can be seen.
Thank you very much.
Question.
Yes. Done. Anyone have any comments?
Question.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes, or I see Mr. Wilson back there, the one, what was the criteria for y'all when you turned this down? I was listening, I watched it on our meeting. I didn't hear any explanation why you turned it down.
Biggest reason was that it went against the future land use plan, that is zoned residential in that area. Now, it's zoned that way, but it is also for future land use plan calls for it to be left in residential.
So you're playing that future land use plan again?
I
Did it meet
didn't.
all the criteria that you would normally check if a piece of property was to be rezoned, like
It would be, yes.
it would have been?
Yes.
Did y'all consider that in any form or fashion?
I'm sure they did. I had no
Who
control
is
over
they?
that.
Did y'all consider that, Mr.
Planning
Hughes?
Commission.
Are you asking me?
Yes, sir.
The only way I can explain that is the Bradley County Recreation or Regional Planning Commission has a set of guidelines that they follow. This commission does not follow the same regulations, and therefore does not have to hold it the same quality as what the Planning Commission does. Those guidelines are looked at, and we try to follow all of them. There have been some that have been zoned that could go commercial, actually, by the land use problem that we have denied also for safety issues in the previous. But I will say this commission has tended to follow the recommendation of the zoning in most cases for rezoning of property. But again, it's a recommendation that the rezoning makes. It's not something that this commission has to follow. You do what you wish up here.
You talking about this commission or the planning?
I'm talking about the Bradley County Commission.
Oh, I understand that. But the planning commission only went with the land use plan, right? When y'all
Exactly,
rezoned that,
yes.
so y'all didn't consider any of the other things?
No, I have no vote on it, so.
I understand, but
yeah,
you know
but
what
they
you
did not, no.
did not.
Yeah.
It did come up for discussion.
Oh, yes, it come up for a lot of discussion.
Well, then what was discussed?
More than I've got time to tell you about. Took
Oh, we
over
got
an
all
hour and a
day.
half.
We got all day.
It took an hour and a half to discuss all the things that were discussed during that meeting, so.
What, could you highlight one or two of them?
Well, negative, the constituent spoke about the water problems in the property, which I do not know if there is. They just stated that there was. Also, for it was because it was located close to Highway 60 for easy access in and out. So, both sides were discussed heavily.
I will have more later. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Commissioner Slater.
Mr. Wilson, is there a legal reason that property should not be rezoned?
Not other than the future land use plan.
But that doesn't have anything to do with a legal
No.
reason as to why the property should not be rezoned.
Correct.
So there is no legal reason why the property should not be
Not
rezoned.
that I can find.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Blake.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. One of the things I believe was also discussed was that this plan or this document that you used, or the planning commission used to make a decision, and they, I think, said it themselves, is outdated. The data or the direction that this document would lead you isn't up to,
It has
it's
not been
it's not
up-
comprehensive, or it's not contemporary right now. It's,
Well, it has not been updated in several years. It's still a value as a guideline, but it has not been updated.
so it is we're dealing with facts here,
Yeah.
and we're using an outdated, or they are using an outdated document in order to make decisions.
Well, I guess you just have to say yes, because it was designed up until 2025. As the last reading that I saw was when the time period was supposed to go to.
All right, so the other thing that came up is with respects to the water, and my understanding, it was something I'm gonna ask for, I guess, next week when we get into the voting session, but it's all right to ask it now, is a perk test was performed, or,
Correct.
and I assume you have to have licensing or criteria or certifications in order to be a person or
Yes.
organization that can perform that test.
Yes, it
Do we-
is
did-
very, very.
Did the results of that test, were they disclosed or talked about? So,
We, as the building department, do not know those facts until such time as a permit is applied. Then the state has to issue
the
the
state
cert-
comes in
Yeah.
and takes care of it. So again, back to the planning commission, I know what is their role in this process? Because it's my understanding, not to put words in your mouth, I'll say, we have a number of boards and we have a number of committees. One of them comes to mind is like our beer board, and we may have a member of the beer board that it could be absolutely 100% because of their belief system against alcohol. I mean, that's their right to do so and whatnot. But as a member of that board, they basically check and see, was the permit applied for? Did they pay their fee? Are they within a couple of 100 feet of a church or a school? I believe I'm going by memory. They basically check box, and if you get all of them correct, they issue the permit to have alcohol. Doesn't the planning commission pretty much do the same
They
thing?
look at all of those,
You check yes, and you
Yes.
go accordingly. But it looks to me as if opinions were brought into the conversation.
Well, it depends on how you look at the future land use plan. That has been.
That's outdated.
Well, it's outdated, but it's still only thing we have to look at as far as to where we're gonna put businesses compared to where we're gonna have residential.
So we probably should put a moratorium on planning commission taking up anything until we get this land use plan
That would be your
updated.
choice.
Thanks, Will.
Commissioner Hughes and then Commissioner Rogers.
I think that I understand the people's choices up here. It's a heated conversation, honestly, or topic to say, and it doesn't matter how you go. I can tell you, no one's asked why I voted the way I did. It just didn't conform to the rezoning regulations, which was it didn't fit in the land use program. Now, is that outdated? It could be. It may not be updated. I don't know. But the only thing I can say is it's all that we have as far as on the planning. I go again, this is a recommendation. The people that's up here that's giving our planner a hard time, have asked him legal questions that he really can't answer. He's not an attorney. I should remember this is a recommendation. You vote the way you choose to vote here. It doesn't change planning.
Mr. Rogers, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Wilson, thanks for being here today. I know you're going to probably have a bunch of questions asked.
I'm sure.
So just to go over a few things too, and I thank Commissioner Hughes for his comments as well, because it is a recommendation from the Planning Commission. And just to clarify, the Planning Commission, the reason they voted against rezoning this was because of the land use plan.
Correct.
But this rezoning meets all legal requirements for it to be changed over to commercial. Is that correct?
The best that I can tell.
Yes, sir. On March 21st, you sent an email to the Planning Commission. That email had a map that was attached to it inside of that email.
Right.
Looking at this map, it looks different than the map that is on ours. If you look at the map today that's on ours, it has yellow around it, right? But the map that you sent out, and in your email, it states all red. It says you will see where the property and where the commercial future land use is located. Red is commercial. Light yellow tan, according to your monitor, is low density residence. If I'm looking at this picture where it is, you are correct that the property currently is yellow per the land use plan.
Right.
But the property across the street where it's talked about being residential and the property above it, just for clarification, that is zoned commercial currently. Is that correct?
No, it is all zone residential except for where the Dollar General sits.
Okay, so
That is the future land use plan of what they plan to put.
so the land use plan currently states that the property across the street and above can be zoned commercial, but it's currently zoned residential. Is that
I don't
correct?
have a map in front of me, but I'm pretty sure that's where you're talking about, because the fire hall that's adjoins this property is in the future land use permit or plan for possible commercial use.
So the land
it
up,
is
so
now.
the land that is adjoined is, it, for the land use plan states that it is commercial, and the land directly across the street as well states that it could be, the land use plan could be
I
commercial.
think there is a section across the street, like I say, I don't have the map in front of me, so I don't know exactly state yes or no, but, if you've got the map, you see what's red, it would be commercial.
That's all the questions I have for right now.
Anyone else? Yes, Commissioner Collins.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I too, thank you, Mr. Wilson, for being here. I really do appreciate it. You've been nothing but kind to me and my questions, because I think of everybody up here, I'm probably the most novice in terms of understanding and learning. And so I appreciate the phone calls from our different groups. I think it's a very, passionate issue on both sides. And so I tried to approach it from, kind of a legal standpoint, like what's the process by which any citizen, I talk about my mom and dad all the time, but what's the process by which any citizen would approach zoning and rezoning? And so the one thing that I moved to was the zoning resolution, which is what we have. I think the 49-page document that gives articles and it walks us through it. And the way I understand it, this is the opportunity to move to a C1, or the request to move to C1. And in Section 505 of Rural Commercial District, it says it is the intent of this district to establish areas of light commercial activity adjacent to or near residential areas. And then it says the areas of rural commercial will be compact and possibly adjacent to residential areas. One of the uses permitted in that is item J, animal shelter. So I guess to Commissioner Hughes's point and Commissioner Alford's point, this was the context by which we would hope that the Planning Commission would operate, because I think it does clearly say, this is, I read the 49 pages and I didn't see the future land use map in it, but I did see the regulations and the resolution for how a citizen would rezone. So again, to summarize, using this document, I think it's fairly clear that this request to rezone by a private citizen, you would say, meets the requirements for the resolution, correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Wilson. That's all.
Is there anyone else? Okay, this will be placed on the voting agenda for next week. We'll now go to communication from the audience. Excuse me. I'll recognize and allow 5 minutes to anyone who wishes to speak. Is there anyone that would like to speak? Yes. We would like to have your name, please, sir, and your address is not necessary.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm Greg Thomas. I'm a resident of District 3.
Okay.
My reason for being here today has to do with an issue that I think has come up, and I believe it may have been addressed in the negative by the Tennessee Attorney General. That has to do with the idea of nullification. And I present myself to you as a resident of Tennessee, a resident of Bradley County, and a citizen of the United States. And we just said the Pledge of Allegiance here a few minutes ago, and for liberty and justice for all. And I think the laws of our United States need to be respected, and that's what I would encourage be done The history of this idea of nullification is not a good one. It's something that preceded the Civil War with respect to tariffs. And every time we've gotten ourselves in a situation of saying no to the legitimate exercise of federal authority, it has not ended well for state and local governments. And I enjoy the protection of the laws of the United States, and I would like for that to be the case, and I would like for this board to steer away from that. And I really appreciate your taking time to listen to me, but that's really what I have to say today, and thank you very much.
Thank you. Let me elaborate a little bit on this 5 minutes. It will be 5 minutes exactly. If the ringer goes off, I will stop you, and for you to continue, you must have someone from the commission bring it up, and we'll vote on a continuation of your presentation. Yes, please.
So, Dr. Linda Cash, Bradley County Schools, and I am here just with some science and gifts for this board. So I am bringing you solar eclipse glasses. There will be 2 for each of you, and I will hand them to Lori. And we just wanted you to have that protection and remind you not to look at it straight on. So this is a gift from Bradley County Schools. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, I'm Barry Phillips. I came before the zoning board there when they had done a presentation, and I hope that what I showed them that day was enough to influence their decision as well on voting no on this rezoning. And what I want to do is, Lori and I could not get the video to work today. I want to ask that I be able to come back on the next session and be able to show a video. I have printed things that I've done here for the commission today, but I don't want to present them so I can give you the whole thing. I would love to be able to do it today. I have the video. I could play on my computer, walk by and let you see it. If you like, I would go ahead and do my presentation then. But, you know, the video is for all the naysayers that say there's no water under this property. And it's been coming up out of the ground for the last 60 years. And when I was there as a kid, running through the outfield there, splashing through mud holes, I never understood what that was, why the reason water was standing there. Until I went back a few years ago, and me and my grandson was dousing down there and metal detecting. And all I could find was water. So I don't want to present it today because without the video, that's, you know, picture's worth 1,000 words, video is going to be worth 1,000,000. So I asked to be put on the agenda for next month to be able to show my complete presentation with the video. Because Mr. Hughes asked me at that meeting when he saw the video, he said, Mr. Phillips says, how long has it been since it rained in that video? Your answer is that February of 2024 and January of 2024 was the driest years in 130 years. February was the driest month in 130 years. The video that you saw, Mr. Hughes, was we had 0.8 of an inch of rain on February the 12th. That video was 11 days later, February the 23rd. And it was like 4:45 in the afternoon. We did have rain that night, 0.3 of an inch of rain, again at 7 o'clock. So I want to come back and present everything I have to you. If you make a decision then to vote for this, you know, I can't change your vote in your mind, but you've got to see this. You've got to see this, be able to give a correct vote on it. That's all I have to say today, because I want to come back, be available to show you the complete thing.
You'll
8
be
to
given
10 minutes.
You'll be provided 5 minutes next week, and then if at the end you're not completed, then we can go up for another continuation on the vote of the commission.
That would be good. I think I've timed myself, and it's about 8 minutes, somewhere around that right now. So if I could be provided that much time in the beginning, you know, just knowing that. It's not, I'm not going to keep you here all night. I do not want to keep beating this dead horse. It's just not.
The dead horse will be taken care of next week. Yeah.
All right.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Sure.
Yes.
Question. We had some questions, Chairman.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, sir. You have any, degree or anything in hydrogeographics?
No, I have 60 years' experience with this property, that when, there's a kid, playing ball in the outfield and water standing in the outfield for no known reason.
So you're on that property every day?
Well, I worked at the Waterville Golf Course for 3 summers. That would have been June, July, and August. As a kid, mowing that golf course down there with a push mower and a sling sickle. The 3rd year, he put me on a tractor. I mowed the fairway, so I mowed every inch of that thing. I've been stuck more times between Dalton Pike and Golf Drive and Hunt Road on that tractor than there are people in this room today, probably 50 times, sometimes twice a day, because this groundwater continues to come rise to the top. It's not going to go away. It never has. It never will. In this video that I have in this, that I'm going to show you, as you can see, the water standing on top of the ground. You can see the perk holes. They were none done out in this area where all the water and spring were. There were no perk tests in there.
How many
All at the
springs do
tree
you
line.
think were in that area?
At least, from what I can see on the map, the picture, at least 6 on that property.
Where are they located? Just on that property or elsewhere?
Well, on that property, but this reservoir, that aquifer that this land sits on here, the Waterville Golf Course and all that, it starts at Red Clay State Park.
Right.
At the Blue Hose.
Right.
It comes all the way out to Blue Springs. Think of these names I'm telling you. Blue Springs, Flint Springs, Waterville Springs, Ladd Springs. You got Kyle Lake, Wildwood Lake. Everything in this area is to do with a spring or a lake. So it's not. And this continues, this aquifer goes all the way through, follows Trewhitt Road, all the way out to Wildwood Lake, Spring Place, Ladd Springs.
All those places you're talking about, they do have homes all around them, don't they? Just
Sure
like
they
the
do.
one that we're looking at now,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Has those homes ever had water in them?
I mean, it's not a flood area. The flood area is south of that.
It's
property.
5 acres. You're talking about 5 acres.
This 5 acres
On
here.
Cross Street there, they sat 8 or 9 homes. Have they ever been flooded?
Well, I'm sure that their backyards are standing water every day.
Are you
Because of
sure of that?
spring water.
Because I go by there all the time. I see dogs in their backyard. They're not flooded.
Well, I mean, there's water standing in there. It's
No.
groundwater standing in it. I mean, you
Let
can't.
me ask you one other question. These
Okay.
apartments at the far end of that piece of property, do they get flooded?
Well, there is a wet weather spring to the corner of that property right there where this,
I asked you,
pump
do they
station.
get flooded though?
Well, no, they don't get flooded because it's just
Okay.
groundwater coming up. It's not a flood area. It's only groundwater that's perking up through the ground. You can't stop a spring. Once it breaches the top of the ground, you cannot stop it.
I know you. Did you have anything to do with Parkview? When you looked at Parkview, you may not be familiar with Parkview. It was the same time ground. They built a school on it.
Oh, I don't know anything about that. All I know is, what I know is the Waterville area. I'm not familiar with
Same
anything.
thing.
Yeah.
They had one time they had a fountain going up from water, but they did. They built a school on it, and I had a problem since.
Yeah. Well, you got to ask yourself is why did the county spend hundreds of thousands of dollars? Because Waterville School forever has had a sewage problem. They spent $100,000 to put in a pump station to pump sewage a mile away to Lake Forest. Why didn't they put it on the 6 acres that you're talking about?
Let me ask you a question. I talked to the school system. You just said they always have a problem with their sewer line.
No, Waterville did.
What Waterville school line and Waterville school and
The old
sewer
school.
is the same thing.
Mhm. The old school.
They've not had a problem.
The old school had.
Well,
That's
the
why
old
they pumped
school's
it a
not
mile
there
away.
anymore.
I know, but they pumped their sewer a mile away.
Well, you have to pump sewer because sewer don't run downhill. You have to pump it uphill to get over the hill.
Well, they had 6 acres right there that joined the school that they could have pumped that sewage to. Why did they not use it? Because they knew water was standing on top
It's
of
a
the ground.
sewer line. It's not a field line. It's a sewer
Well, no,
line.
but you can't. They couldn't have pumped that out into that field.
Well, they wouldn't want to.
Why is that?
Who would put water sewage out on the ground?
Well, no, you put it in the ground 3 foot down, but if it's water staying on top of the ground, how could it possibly be any drier 3 foot down for a septic? That's I mean, I don't understand, the thing is that you can't put water underground, under standing water, and expect it to be a viable septic
How deep
system.
is those springs?
I don't know.
Well, if you
Well,
don't know, how do you know water keeps coming up?
Well, because the video will show you next week that I show you that these these perk test holes, the water is 2 inches below the surface in it. That's your water table under that ground. And one of the holes that, and I've got the video here if you'd like to see it. I'll Bring
I
it to your
guess my
station.
next question, and if the percos at these houses, all these houses right there beside the property are all on septic tanks,
Yep.
right? Now, why aren't they having problems?
Oh, they are.
I know.
They are having problems, yes. Everybody in this whole southern Bradley County, everybody knows, even in.
Well, the
talking to
ones I talked to, only a couple of them's ever had problems, and you know as well as I do, if you have a septic tank problem, it's because they didn't run enough field lines.
But no, it's because the ground is so saturated, it can't disperse itself into the ground.
Do you know that for a fact?
Yes, I do.
Do you have a degree in hydrogeographics? I'll ask you again.
No, I do not.
Okay.
I don't need it.
Thank
All
you.
I know is that when water comes to the top of the ground, you're not gonna stop it. Anyone else?
Yes.
Anyone else? Commissioner Blake?
You're good, thank you. I need
Okay,
to chat
thank
with Ron Wilson real quick. Ron, because this is an interesting development. So as we just
Repeat
chatted
that.
about, again, we're good. You said, and Commissioner Hughes tested, that the land use plan was what was used to make the decision. They voted, and the testimony or what their statements were, that the land use says this, therefore we have to go in this direction.
Correct.
So then with all this information, does the land use plan take in consideration
No.
what he's saying as far as water
No.
and non-water and all that kind of stuff? So with all due respect, Mr. Phillips, whether it's got 4 foot of water or whether it's a desert is irrelevant to the decision-making that the planning commission made.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Commissioner Hughes?
I'll probably make some people mad, but honestly, the only thing that the zoning commission looked at was the land. It is not the job of the planning commission to decide if somebody wants to buy property that is swampland for all that matters. And I would guarantee you that no one out there, if you had 5 acres of swampland and somebody offered you an astronomical price, would turn it down. That's just the truth of it. Nobody would. They would take the money and run. It's up to that person that's building that building to decide if they can build on that. The zoning commission did not look at that. We listened to the people, but what I can't say the reason other people denied it, that it wasn't ended, was saying this is the reason we turned it down. I can only tell you the reason I voted against it, which was the land use plan. That was it. The other 5 that voted against it may have had other reasons other than what I did. In the end, this commission is not going to be voting whether that property is waterlogged or not waterlogged, if somebody's going to build on it. They're going to be voting whether it needs to be, or whether it qualifies to be rezoned or not. That is the actual vote. It doesn't matter who's buying it. It doesn't matter who's owning it. The regulations falls the same no matter what. So that's where my vote will be and was.
Mr. Chairman. Sure.
Mr. Rogers?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Wilson,
Yes.
determining if there's water on it, not water on it, like this gentleman stated today, does that go to any legality if this property can be rezoned?
No.
And by legal standards, this property meets all the requirements to be rezoned as what
Yes.
they are requesting.
Yes.
Thank you.
That, let me emphasize the rest of that. Planning commission looks at the plan to rezone. And if, say, for example, we got a subdivision coming in, they want to rezone it. If it meets the criteria, doesn't matter if it's all underwater, it can be rezoned.
This property does meet all the criteria, correct?
Exactly. Yes.
The legal criteria.
Yes. The only thing is the future land use plan does not qualify it for rezoning.
The one that Mayor Davis has requested, we
To update.
combine with the city and redo completely.
Yes.
Oh, that's the growth plan.
That's the growth plan. It's not the plan.
Land use.
Is that growth plan or land use plan?
Mayor,
It's
that's
not
the growth
land
plan.
Will they both be redone at the same time, or is it just the growth plan?
No, I asked.
The growth plan will be done following the 1101 law of updating the boundary for annexation. That's basically what it deals with. The land use plan is a part of the strategic plan that the city and county does together that is also time. But keep in mind that land use plan is a tool that the Planning Commission has adopted to go by. County Commission has not adopted that plan to go by. So when they refer to that document, it's a tool they have in their tool chest. It's not a tool in your tool chest. Don't confuse the two. Does that make sense?
Thanks for the clarification, Mayor.
Anyone else?
Real quick, Ron, so if no rezoning took place in how it's currently zoned as of right now, what could be done with that land as far as
Build
construction?
houses on it.
You can build houses on it. Thank you.
If you could get septic. That's the key.
But
If there's no sewer available to that property, the state would have to approve it for septic.
but the planning commission
Had
doesn't
no
have,
problem.
they would never have to come to the
No.
planning commission.
No, because that would be done by the developer in that state. Anyone else?
Anyone else? Thank you very much. Yes.
Yes, Commissioners, I'm the one that actually ordered the perk test for the property, and so I brought 20 copies that I can hand off to you.
Please do.
Yeah.
Please.
David Myers, he's a soil scientist, approved by the state, licensed by the state, completed the analysis. I talked to him on Friday. He said there are sections of that property you would not want to build on, but where we want and where we intend on building this facility, perks for it, and he had no issue putting his good name on it. And he said, you know, barring any objection from anybody in the community or any of the commissioners, you guys are more than welcome to call the state and question his findings. So he's a licensed, well-versed, experienced soil scientist. I'm sure many of you know his name. And here's a report that says that he would sign off on it. Thank you.
I won't belabor the point of what we're here to talk about today. I mean, I am Cheryl Dunson. I'm on the board of directors for the SPCA of Bradley County. I do have a few slides that I would like to show you if that's at all possible. Thank you, Lori. We have been your vendor for animal sheltering services since 2013, and we have successfully renewed that contract several times. And I think we do a pretty good job of taking care of abandoned, neglected, abused, and surrendered animals in Bradley County. We are a no-kill shelter, which means that 96% of the animals that come into our care eventually find a home, whether it takes a week or a year. With that said, Lori, could you move ahead? These are our current facilities. You see that our office is run out of a trailer. And then on the right top corner of the slide, you'll see where we have our dog facility. But you can tell that our facilities are old, they're dilapidated, and they were never meant to house animals. So in 2021, Ben Chandler with the Community Foundation of Cleveland Bradley County approached the SPCA of Bradley County and said, we have chosen you to start a capital campaign. With that said,
Sure. Again, my name's Ben Chandler, chairman of the Cleveland and Bradley County Community Foundation. And several years ago, the board decided to adopt this campaign, capital campaign, to raise, at the time, $1.5 million to build them a new facility, because several of the board members had gone out and seen the state of the facility, and we just felt like Bradley County could do better. So we launched what became known as a Time to Build campaign. Currently, we've raised $1.2 million, $1.2 million of privately funded resources to go to providing a service for all of the Bradley County taxpayers. This is a wonderful piece of property. We have been out there. We've been on the hunt. When you look for a 5-acre tract, centrally located, close to a main road, that's accessible to most of the county, that's going to be a $300,000 or $400,000 piece of property. So this is a good deal, not only for the county, but also for the SPCA, because I believe it's probably its highest and best use. So we have several large, familiar philanthropic faces that have been a part of this campaign, and we've probably had 200 plus what I'll call everyday heroes that have committed what they can to participate in it as well. We've got 1.2 million. We still have a ways to go. I have several donors that are willing to commit six-figure sums if we can just land on a piece of property so they can see this thing off the ground. So the Community Foundation, the donors of this campaign respectfully ask that we've done our due diligence. The property is going to meet the needs. It's going to provide a great service, rezone the property, and let us get this underway. It's a great example of a public-private partnership. Private citizens have raised the money for the capital investment, and all we got to do is get underway. So, thank you.
Yeah, 1 second,
Ben.
please. Commissioner Gilden.
Let me ask you a question.
Yes, sir.
So when you get this big building built, will it be a dog shelter then?
A dog shelter. Well, it'd be an animal shelter.
Okay, would it be what we call, all the old country folks call a dog pound?
No, this is a facility that's meant to rehome animals.
Will they have animal control?
That's up to the county if they would like for us to provide, expanded animal control.
So the SPCA, the number one thing they do is adopt out animals, take animals that's sick and hurt and get them better and adopt them out, right?
You're on the board, but you should know that, but yes.
Yes. So I just wanted to know when they bid, I haven't heard a whole lot about this building and haven't even seen plans of this building. I am on the board and I pretty much just sat back there and keep my mouth shut till I'm asked a question. But is this going to be big enough to house a lot of dogs?
Yes, yeah. Approximately 12,000 square feet. So you'll have room for 75 indoor, outdoor dog runs. I know there was some concerns about noise and smell, et cetera, et cetera. We've kind of built into this plan the opportunity. Dogs will be housed indoors at night. They're not going to have free reign. This will operate like an upscale veterinary clinic or boarding facility, very similar to East Ridge or McCamey down in Chattanooga.
But I just wanted to make sure that the constituents of Bradley County knows this is not a dog pound.
It's not a dog
It's
pound.
not a dog shelter. It is the SPCA.
Yes, sir.
So, thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Hughes, please. Commissioner Beatty, I'm sorry.
I got a question for you. Is that going to be soundproof, this building y'all spending so much money on, or not?
It will be a state-of-the-art facility that is modeled after the McCamey Animal Shelter and the Hamilton Education Society facility. So yes, we intend to invest quite a bit of money, almost $2 million into this facility.
Okay.
I did have we happened to go quickly, but we did have a slide that showed the actual, if you'll go back one more, we've tried to design this with the help of Lewis Architects to blend in with our residential area there, hopefully with the rezoning. So we're trying to present a facility that is a good neighbor to what we have in place already. It's located directly behind the fire station number 12. I think you're familiar with that facility. So we intend to be good neighbors, and I think you can see it's going to be aesthetically pleasing as well as not from just a visual standpoint, but audio standpoint as well.
Are y'all going to pick up animals in the county or what?
If
Somebody
our
calls
contract
and-
right now with Bradley County is an animal sheltering service. Our number one priority is to respond to 911 calls. We do not provide animal control where we go out and actually pick up animals because somebody's complaining about a dog or a cat. If that's a service that you want, we can sit down and negotiate that. Currently, we get $226,000 a year from Bradley County to provide those sheltering services.
I don't know exactly who she helps out, and I know a woman that picks up animals, picks up when they call her or whatever, picks up animals, and she keeps them in her place for a while, and then I don't know, part of them probably goes to y'all or whoever, but I really don't know. But I just wondering about that.
Okay. We have one more person here today that would like to address the commission.
Just before we do, let Commissioner Hughes has a question.
Cheryl, I have a lot of respect for the SPCA and their goal, and I realize that it's a no-kill shelter, which is pretty impressive actually that you do what you do. But in my history, I've seen if you build it, they will come. And one of the biggest complaints I've had so far about SPCA isn't the animal control part, although everybody says we need animal control. It's literally that you're always full and you can't take any more dogs or cats. What are you going to do when this is full? Because it will fill up. And do you have other alternatives than what you have now to move these animals out to where it will never have that problem where a citizen brings one?
I think, sir, that if you were to read the news reports on a daily basis, there comes a point in time where McCamey reaches capacity, where Hamilton County reaches capacity. The facility that we currently operate has space for approximately 25 dogs. We operate well over that on a daily basis, and half of the animals in our care are in foster care. We depend very, very much on people who take in these animals out of the goodness of their hearts. What we're proposing to build here in Bradley County will far, far be larger than what we're currently operating right now. I can't tell you that we'll never be full, but I don't think it's fair to an animal to put it in a pop-up crate, which is what we've had to do because of the facilities that we have currently.
I guess in due respect, if you can't get rid of 25 a month, then how are you going to get rid of 75?
That is
or
a
more?
misstatement. We don't get rid of any animals. What we do is we adopt them out, and we keep them as long as we can until they find a home. And if that takes a year, a week, a month, we keep them, and they are treated humanely and with a good quality of life.
Which I have a lot of respect for that also, and I agree with you, that's true. But what am I going to say to the citizens that's in my district that call me saying that they won't accept an animal and they're told to just leave it? That animal is running free and in the roads and harassing people and things of that nature.
You work for the sheriff's department, and I think you would agree that we do a pretty good job of responding to 911 calls whenever there is an emergency. We don't make the laws here in Cleveland, Bradley County. Those leash laws are things that we can't enforce.
Ma'am, this has nothing to do with the leash law.
Well,
This is all about stray animals running free that people are like trying to bring to SPCA and they won't accept them because they have no room. What I want to know is if there's a plan in place once we get this building built, or once this building's built, to move them quicker to where Bradley County citizens don't have to hold stray animals, and just as cruel, letting those animals run out free, starving, being hit by cars and things of that nature. What do we do with those? Hopefully that won't happen.
And again, as I said, I can't promise you that we're never going to run out of space. I mean, I think I've served on a lot of boards, and this is probably the hardest board I've ever served on due to the fact that you don't ever see the light at the end of the tunnel. The animals just keep coming. But I think, again, we do a pretty good job of placing 96% of the animals that come into our care into homes. I would like to add to the record, the Alderman Group did a petition for us. We have 1,768 respondents to that petition. 970 were from Bradley County, and 321 were from the zip code 37323. And I would like to enter this.
Sure, one last thing, sure. I will be honest with you. Your committee, I agree with you. I would love to know better about. If you ever have an opening on that committee, I would love to join it.
I will take that to our next board meeting. Thank you, Mr. Hughes.
Commissioner Blake.
Real quick, Cheryl, thank you. Anytime we have, different viewpoints, the best thing to do is kind of communicate with one side or the other. You said a few moments ago when I was listening to you, what you said, that you want to be a good neighbor. So I guess my question, and we're good friends here, what have you done to educate or sit down and chat with those who may not understand what you're trying to accomplish?
We have offered to
You have
meet.
offered.
Yeah, we have we asked to meet with members of the opposition group, and I think our chairman reached out to them, Mr. Steve Anderson.
Possibly.
Steve Moreland is on our board, Brenda Wojcik is on our board. We
What
have
were
a
the-
number
what-
of supporters
Right.
here.
What were
They-
the results of that discussion, if you don't mind me
They
asking?
wouldn't meet with us.
I'm sorry?
They wouldn't meet with us.
They would not meet with you. Thank you.
Commissioner Rogers.
I believe because this is a work session and the minutes are not official, if we could hold off and place those minutes on the next voting session, Mr. Chairman.
That's already been taken care of.
Thanks.
Yes, you can speak briefly.
Hi, my name's Becky Samples. I'm a member of the Waterville community. My husband's family is a member of the Trewhitt family that settled here in 1830, and we still operate a farm adjacent to this proposed property. Many here are concerned about the planned rezoning to allow for a new animal shelter, and I agree with them. It's simply inappropriate to rezone a single lot within a residential area as commercial to build a facility that could easily be built at another location away from residential areas. But that's not my primary concern. My primary concern, I'm a dog lover. We have raised and rescued and raised many animals, dogs over the years. I fully support an animal shelter completely. A lot of my dogs through the years have come from them. My issue is the issue of safety and cruelty. The proposed facility is to be built immediately behind an active fire station. The fire station in question is dutifully serves the area, and they're involved in calls on a daily basis. According to the National Institute for Occupational Safety and Health, the sound level of a fire siren can reach up to 120 to 140 decibels. The sound level is to cover hundreds of feet in distance, warning motorists of an upcoming emergency. According to the Purdue University Extension Office, sound levels within a dog kennel hover between 80 and 100 decibels. That is the normal range. Above this range is considered to be unsafe and can lead to permanent hearing damage. Purdue goes on to explain that the sound at or above 140 decibels can cause immediate hearing damage and physical pain for dogs each and every time they are exposed. Physical pain for dogs, I'm sorry, reading a little off here. Should you choose to move forward with this building, we must know that we can and will be putting each dog in physical pain potentially multiple times per day, most certainly per week. Therefore, potentially permanently damaging their hearing. In fact, Tennessee Code on Animal Abuse and Cruelty determines that a Class A misdemeanor punishable by up to 1 year in jail and a $2,500 fine per incident for neglecting an animal in a way that causes physical pain and suffering. While there certainly could be a liability issue, as there is no provision in state code exempting painful neglect, the simple truth is that we can and we must do better for our canine friends. As many have highlighted over the period of this debate, there are multiple locations available, I am sure, that do not introduce rezoning a residential area for this, and certainly damaging to the very animals that we are here to protect. Thank you for your time.
My name's John Sheehan. I'm resident of Bradley County. Kind of torn about how to make my presentation after hearing everybody speak today, but I'll just say basic facts and truths. Tell you how I feel, but I've been involved with the SPCA, my wife has and I, for the last several years. I've worked diligently with some real estate professionals to find a suitable location. think Ben mentioned earlier that land is difficult to find, especially commercial that's zoned properly, that meets all the requirements and makes people happy. It's very difficult. Everything's gone up a whole lot. So finding a suitable site has proven very challenging. We are the lead donor in this effort, my wife and I, and several other people have committed, and hundreds of people every year give to the BCA. My concern is at some point, you know, people like myself who wants to help out the community, you know, there's donor fatigue, but there's also, I guess, here I am giving money and we're funding this whole thing. And Mr. Hughes, you made a point here about you're kind of criticizing this building, what we're building. Well, what we have right now is horrible. And what we're proposing to do with private funds is to make something so much better. And the fact that you would even kind of put in the question about the what we're trying to do and it not being big enough, well, what we have to work with is horrible. And so we're trying to make this better with private funds. I don't know if you've read Chattanooga's paper yesterday, but there was an article about what's going on in Fulton County in Atlanta. Did anybody pick up on that? I kept copies here for everybody. But their costs have gone up 300%, Fulton County, and they've cut off Atlanta. They've severed their ties because they can't get things to work. In this situation, you know, we're talking about funding this thing privately. Fulton County is spending $40 million to build an animal shelter. And so we're trying to work together with y'all. I know that Ben and this entire team worked hard. Is it the right site, perfect site? Probably not. But we haven't found anything even close to working. In my personal opinion, and I'm speaking out of turn here, I'd ask the county to consider giving the 5 to 6 acres that's where this SBCA sits right now today, because it's been there forever. There's no issues with the noise, with the community. It meets all the requirements because it has been existing for many, many years. And it would be at a cost for us that would be affordable. And it also would be, because I heard one complaint from one of the county commissioners that it's not convenient. The current proposed location is not convenient. And so keeping it where it is, it would continue to make it where it's been for a long time. So all I can say is I'm all for it, but if for some reason y'all vote against it, ask that you consider the site that you already have. I think it would actually be better for us and would alleviate some of the noise concerns and some of the other neighbors' concerns that have been brought up here today.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Sir, let me clarify something. I'm not criticizing the fact that they need a bigger building. I actually agree 100% they do. I think you misunderstood by what I was saying about the animals. What I meant was there's 25 animals there. It's hard to get rid of them. If you have more, is there an alternative to get rid of them quicker to help move them? It has nothing to do with the location itself. As far as the location, if this fails, I'll be the one to put that motion on the agenda for that. I would support that 100%.
That to me,
It's a logical answer, but I don't know if the full board would agree with that.
And I think that our group here today would, if you would do that, you would consider donating that land to us, we would move off of this position and take that site.
What I would do is put a recommendation for the mayor to negotiate a way to either lease it for an extended 40-year term and then options of extending that, or possibly to purchase it, whichever one. I don't know. That would have to go between the mayor, because that's negotiations, what the mayor does. But I would be happy to carry that, I'm telling you.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Anyone else? Thank you very much.
My name is Mary Wooten, and I live in the Waterville community. I've lived there for almost 50 years. Never in my life, I'm 81 years old, I've never had a death threat or a threat to burn my house down until all of this took place. I have received numerous calls telling me if I don't back off of this, that I'm going to die and that my house is going to be burned down. Also, when we were here at the rezoning meeting, some lady approached me and said negative things to me. Now, that's a sad day, gentlemen, when you can't stand up for what you feel like is right. We do not want that in our community. It's in a residential community. There's little houses there that back right up to that property. And yes, the property sits on Waterville Springs, where we get our drinking water. It is not safe. My dad was a veterinarian. I know all about animals. I grew up on it. And as far as McCamey is concerned, you need to check that out. McCamey is in a non-residential area. There are no houses around there. Yes, it has an odor, and you can hear the sounds. You definitely can. It is a law that they have to let those animals out so many hours a day outside, weather permitting. Where do you think all that feces and urine is going to go? Right into our water supply. Thank you, gentlemen.
There's a ma'am here as well, Miss Wooten. There's a ma'am here as well. It's ladies and gentlemen. Miss Slater's here as well.
There's a female that serves on this commission as well, Miss Wooten.
I'm sorry. I can't hear you. Oh, and lady, excuse me.
Yes, sir.
Like a lot of people. My name's Chad Dean. I am a resident of District 6, and I've lived and built houses in that district for over a decade, and actually recently purchased land that you can walk to from that area, and I am not at all concerned about that affecting my investment. But I think what everybody here is getting sidetracked. You guys have one responsibility. You have a rezoning to look at, and so if there's nothing that prevents that from legally being rezoned, that is your responsibility. So I don't know why everybody's bringing up all this other stuff, but I just wanted to say that that's your responsibility, is to honor someone's request. That's all I have.
Anyone else?
Chairman.
Yes.
Mr. Dean, one question before you leave. You said you built in that area or going to build in that area?
I live and run my house from that.
Well, when you built your house, did you hit water?
Did I hit water?
Yeah.
No.
Oh.
No, I live on almost.
Obviously, there's only water on that 5 acres. There's no other places they got front
back
water.
To the soil scientist thing, David Myers is the only person I call whenever I need something done. David Myers did my own property. He's the best in the area for his expertise. So if David Myers puts his name to it, then it's as sure bet as it's going to get.
So he does septic, fill lines and the perk test and all that, yeah.
He's done anything I've ever developed.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Did you have more questions?
I had one, two more.
Yep,
yeah.
go ahead.
So in your experience, you live right there in that area, you haven't hit water on any of your springs? Obviously, it looks like there's only springs are on that 5 acres.
I personally wouldn't use that land for houses. I think the perfect use is what's being proposed. Again, the quick access to Dalton Pike corridor, you can get to APD 40 in minutes. And the thing that people don't realize too is you're always going to have opposition. If you get rezoned in another district, somebody else is going to find an excuse to come and talk against it because they don't want it near their house. Someone made a comment on social media a couple weeks ago. Apparently they knew where I lived. I guess I'm not that hard to find. I'm pretty easy to find, but they were like, you wouldn't want this by your house. Care less. I mean, I've got 3 dogs. I could own a doggy daycare for all I care. But that's just, I think you're always going to have someone come speak negative. You're always gonna have both sides. So the rezoning is the issue here that the commission look at. And, you know, I never saw that petition till yesterday. I signed the SPCA's because it was, you know, definitely a lot more professional than what I saw, that's on your agenda. Nobody approached my district, and I actually did pick up the phone and talk to both of my commissioners. So, you know, at least I did my part in that. I spoke to Tommy, I called him personally, and I talked to Commissioner Mason as well.
Were you required to put your address when you signed the petition?
I think so.
Yeah, that should be on every petition. It should be. That should be a common thing. Yeah.
Anything else?
I've got questions for the person speaking.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chad, great to see you, sir. You're one of the more prominent builders in this area. I mean, you've been building houses and commercial properties for a very long time. When you look at this property and you look at the buildings that you've seen, obviously, I know you're kind of a part of, support the SPCA, and you look at these buildings. This building and how it's laid out, I mean, you hear about soundproofing and all that kind of stuff, that's definitely doable for a building this size and for an area like that, correct?
I mean, even the siren thing, I mean, when you're a first responder, they leave the fire station and they're going down the road with they're not blasting their siren right outside the fire hall. And heck, I got a cruiser in my driveway. Go off nonstop.
The other thing is too, you've built houses that have had septic. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
David Myers, I know you did say this, but just to reiterate, David Myers and the soil consultants, they're the top in this area, in this region.
Done every single one I've done.
And if David Myers soil consultants say that the land perks and the land is good, then we would. The state never questions it. In the state of Tennessee, David Myers, if that land did perk and it does have to have septic on it, that would mean that the area around it would be safe. Is that correct?
Correct.
So that means that we're not going to have septic, sewage, raw sewage, and drinking water or anything like that.
A location. Anytime you or I apply for a septic permit with the state, you stake out where you propose you want the building, but you're still at the mercy of the state's discretion on where they're going to tell you to put that building. But they use the soil scientist perk test map, like from David, to make those professional decisions.
Another question is, Mr. Dean, you said you were getting ready to build some houses there. Is that correct in that area?
Yeah, I'm probably going to hold on to the land. They can have the building finished. What I'm going to do.
So you have, as a builder in this community, you have no issues with this building going up, and thoughts of that you would lose money on your investments of your property or anything like that.
Look at the current location downtown in the city. There's houses going up all around the current location of SBK in the city, and they're selling like before they're even done, and nobody questions that. And I haven't built any of those, but you can drive over there and see.
Thank you, Mr. Dean.
Anyone else? Yes, please.
I own land that joins the Waterville School playground. I have got 4 apartments that I just invested $37,000 in to redo the apartment. That's part of the farm that's been in the family from, since the 1800s. It will affect my apartments, the sound of the barking and whatever. And I did go to the facility in Chattanooga, McCamey, and there was no residential houses around. There were none. And it was like 500 or 600 yards away from the landfill. And this would affect me and my income coming from those apartments. I have 4 women living in the apartments, and the reason they're there is because it's quiet. But it would affect my income, and I'm on a fixed income. So, yeah, I object to the landfill, to the dog facility being built there. York's Florist is across the street, which is no longer, but he has apartments.
There's apartments on the side of where my apartments are. There are townhouses. There are homes out there. In fact, less than a half a mile away, there are $1 million homes out there. The sound and the smell, even when, like I said, I went to the one in Chattanooga, but it's going to affect me. And I do resent the way SPCA is presenting themselves. I agree with the dog shelter, but not in a residential area. And by the way, I do have 2 springs on my property that run along the side all the way into Waterville Playground. So I do object to this. And by the way, somebody vandalized one of my apartments. The apartments are 55 years old. At the wire on one of the boxes on the apartment. So I called the police because I've never been vandalized before. I've never had a threatened phone call. But the police are going down Station Drive and in because of what's going on. And the residents.
Good afternoon. Thank you guys for, commissioners, for listening to both sides and hearing the voice. This is the process, and I appreciate you guys allowing each side to voice their opinions and facts or otherwise. So I have property on Johnson Boulevard across the street from the current SPCA. I have rentals 2 and 3 houses down. I have multiples on that road. I just sold 4 houses on that road for over asking price, and my office is less than a block away. We hear noise on occasion. That's it. I think when they're putting the dogs up and down. Even in that little bitty garage, we rarely hear them. We certainly don't smell them. The tenants across the street, nobody has any issues with any of it. And if that acreage was big enough, I'm sure they would love to stay there and build. But from what I heard, the juvenile department is maybe wanting to expand, and the property's never been available. And the majority of you were here when we did vote to go away from the city animal control, and the county at that time voted to let a third party handle our sheltering, and this commission voted not to do animal control, just to give you a brief history in case you didn't know that. So that's why we do not have animal control in the county, is because the commission did vote to not do that. So the contract with SPCA is just to shelter, and they do a great job with what they have. That trailer is horrible, and they do need to expand, and they do need acreage. So in going back to the petitions, there's 2 petitions for your perusal that's probably in your packet as we speak. I did get to look at both petitions. The majority of the time when you come to the podium to speak, my name is former County Commissioner Charlotte Peak. My address is 612 Old Parksville Road. Usually the chairman asks for that. This is the only meeting I've ever been in that you have not asked for an address and name when they step to the podium for the record. But you do require that. So in your petitions, one petition only has signatures and half of them aren't legible. The SPCA petition, however, has addresses and phone numbers and everything else that you would think would go on a legitimate petition for you to consider. So when you're considering both petitions, I know that you want to be diligent in what your decision making is, but the majority of the Waterville community may or may not support this, but you need to look at those petitions and see who is in the Waterville area and make your decision off of that. However, one whole petition, you won't be able to do that because you can't verify the names with the addresses. But when I was a commissioner, that was a requirement when we did take petitions in. You all also voted 13-1. Let me remind you to sell this property to SPCA. If you made a mistake and you didn't do your due diligence on finding out if it was zoned appropriately at that time, that's on you. But I would beg you guys to reconsider and make sure that you vote to rezone this based on the legalities of the rezoning. My mouth's getting dry and I don't have any water, but I'll hurry. You know, I'm long-winded. So the rest of the noise that you've heard about the property being a wetland or not, or anything else that's been said about it, is not relevant to the rezone of this property. That is with the developer and the contractor and purchasers issues. I build all the time on swamps. David Meyer will come out and he'll say, you've only got 3 spots that you're going to be able to put the septic and fill line in. And then the state will come out and critique his stuff if they think it's even got another hole that they don't like that's not perked correctly. And they'll call David back out to do it a second and third time just to make sure. State of Tennessee is not going to let them put a septic tank and fill line on something that does not perk, because they don't want to be responsible for it later by approving it. And Bradley County does not have their own septic service or septic permitting office. Only the state of Tennessee issues those. So they're very strict, and they are the most stringent they have ever been. And I know because we've got, Vice Chairman Winters sat on a committee, and we kept going back and forth to the state.
Need to cut. And
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I'd like to give Ms. Peak more time.
Okay, and then we'll have a second, we'll have a vote. We'll have a vote starting with Commissioner Rogers.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
You have 5 more minutes.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. And so, anyway, for the record, there are no blue line streams on this map whatsoever. And remember that we put a fire station on Dalton Pike right beside of it. If you don't think the state did not do their due diligence and allowing us and putting that 4-lane through there before they even broke ground on that 4-lane to make sure there was nothing in their way that was going to impair that 4-lane highway, you're kidding yourself. They did. And then to allow us to put a fire station there, there was even more hurdles that had to be gone through to get that done as well. But just for the record, no blue line streams. There may be springs, but I've got springs on most of the property I buy in Bradley County. Bradley County is the worst, and all of you know this that sat on committees with me in the last 12 years. We have the worst soil in the state, the worst. And our roads are named after it. Waterville, Blue Springs, Ladd Springs, you name it, we've got springs. We deal with them. It's just part of the process. And if they were worried about water supply or water being contaminated, you've got tons of dogs still running around because we don't have animal control. And I hope the county eventually does something about that when our budget allows that for the taxpayers. Also, one more comment. The Planning Commission listened to reasons that were also not relevant to their purview in making the decision, and used an outdated future land use plan, and they even said did not and was not a good tool to use. They even came before you, the chairman did, came before you after their previous vote on another issue and stated it was outdated and needed to be upgraded. Same thing. So I'm about to reword everything on the paper. So, in conclusion, the SPCA property met the rezoning request by law and should have been followed by the Planning Commission as well. You guys don't have to actually do that. You did not adopt the future land use plan, as Commissioner Hughes stated. You have not adopted that. Only the Planning Commission, and it was just a tool to use in their toolbox. It does meet the rezoning requirements, the legal reason. Thank you for your time.
Mr. Gilbert.
Yes, sir. I agree with you. You say it's really nice around over there where you're at. I think the county ought to just give them that property. It's big enough since it's got sewer on it that you don't have to put a septic tank. You can run
I
the
can't
sewer
speak
right
for
off
the
of it.
SPCA, but I think they needed
That's
the
a
5
really
acres.
smart idea. And the second thing is, when the county came to vote on this piece of property, we didn't vote on it to have a building put on it. One of the commissioners, I can't remember which one it was, asked the mayor, what are they going to put there? And he said, a house. That was when we first put it up for surplus. The second time it came through, it was bid on by somebody that had bid $60,000. And then the next bid was $150,000. And you being a business person would know you'd take the 150 instead of the 60, right?
Correct.
So that's what we did. So it wasn't nothing, no shabbiness that the commissioners did. That part's out.
Yeah.
But far as putting it over there on Johnson Boulevard, I'd be glad with that. I think the mayor even said one time that I don't know why they don't want to build right there.
Well,
That would be a great place.
from my history on that, I think that is the juveniles expansion area, and I
It's
think you'd
not.
have a few judges upset.
It's not the juveniles. We have voted on nothing. We have spoke on it. Not even spoke on that. We're even looking at a different place. So that'd be perfect.
Thank you. Go enjoy the solar eclipse.
Oh, right here.
Yes, Commissioner Thompson.
Would, your donor said that they would be willing to accept that land where you're at now if it was presented to them. Is that correct?
Yes, I think we've floated that idea several times, and we've always
Yeah.
been said that that's not an option.
Well, it might be. 8 votes, you move the courthouse.
It what?
8 votes, you move the courthouse. So
There are limitations to that. You have to figure out how to operate an animal shelter while you're in the midst of a big construction site. I'm not saying that's impossible. I'm just saying we have not looked at that because when we asked that question originally, we were told that is not an option at this point. You don't need to be considering that.
Well, you would have sewer there, and you wouldn't have to worry about the septic system, that's for sure.
Yes, absolutely.
So,
Yeah.
So anyway, that's something that we need to think about and maybe discuss.
Mr. Chairman.
All the research, sorry, so short. All the research that I've done on this about the water and everything there being polluted and whatever, is that the CDC, we've all heard of them, warns that single dog dropping can contain 3 million fecal, along with parasites, viruses, and whatever. It says that the parasites are hookworms, roundworms, tapeworms. The bacteria, Salmonella, E. coli, and MRSA. That's all from, and it says a single dog will produce more bacteria in one day than a horse and a human, a horse, and a cow combined. And they always say that you should never put a animal shelter on septic. It should be on sewer so it can be dumped somewhere and treated. You cannot put it into the ground, especially on top of our drinking water. At Waterville Springs and Cleveland Utilities is our provider. 100 yards away is a pump station. All this groundwater rolls into over it is not pumped into this 100-foot concrete tank. I'm getting dry as well. So anyway, that's what I have is that they say that, and it says that dog poop is a third on the list of contaminated for drinking water. So those things that have to be in consideration. What you just put up right there is legit. They can operate until they get their new building there at the profit of their own. That's a great idea, and thank you, Mr. Hughes, for mentioning that and the other ones. Thank you. That's all I have.
Mr. Hughes.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make this quick. This is basically knowledge for Commissioner Gilbert. And Mayor, you can correct me on any of this. My understanding is there's about 4 acres that's there where the SPCA is now. That property, some years back, we voted to make it surplus. Is that correct, Mayor? And for one reason or another, there wasn't a bond, or was there a bid on it, or?
I don't think we even got any bids.
So no bids were given on it, and that's the reason SPCA is renting it at this time, or leasing the property at this time. So that's for you.
Anything else? Yes, sir.
My name is Ronnie Whaley. I want to go back to the land usage. I bought my property 8 years ago, and now you're getting ready to possibly rezone this property what happens to my property value and all of Cross Street, Trewhitt? It's hard for me to imagine putting an SPCA facility there and it being a positive effect for property values. So if I did my due diligence 8 years ago and that property is zoned residential, the one in question, and now in the middle of the game you come in and change all the rules, it just doesn't seem fair to the property owners there. It will have a detrimental effect. I just can't believe it's going to be a positive. And I do applaud the idea of putting the SPCA where it is and rebuilding their facility. That's a great idea. Thank you.
Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Quite a day. Quite a day. I just liked a couple of points here, and some of the points that I had have already been made. One thing is, since the inception of the SPCA has saved the county over the previous contract system in excess of $6 million. $6 million has been saved based on the old system. That is a minimized amount. As you know, it would be hard to go back and retrace the history of where the city would have gone. But anyway, and as people said before, the system was devised as it is now because there was the possibility of animal control in the county is not very plausible. I mean, it's just too much territory to cover, and the cost would be, out of sight, unbelievable. The other point here is that the zoning meets all the criteria. I sat through the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission admitted that their land use plans, that stuff was outdated. It was outdated. I was alarmed that people were allowed to present disinformation, and no one on the Planning Commission called anybody out on that. You called into the character and the integrity of the individuals doing the perk test. Not a word. Mum's the word. Nobody said anything. I find it interesting that everybody's concerned about the watershed there, except I don't hear any concern about the glyphosate and all the things that the sprays and stuff that the golf course uses, the artificial fertilizers and all that stuff that goes directly into the watershed. And these are synthetics. See, that stuff is what Agent Orange was. And anybody who's a veteran knows all about that. The disinformation campaign has been unbelievable. That is not a petition. Go look up political petition. There is no confirmation. You can go look at those yourself and just do your comparative, and you'll have a really sound idea of what's been going on. I just, these people have done an amazing job with minimal funding. Nobody wants anything in their backyard, but we're for it. We're for it. Just don't want it in our backyard. Don't want it in our backyard. Well, you know what? There is, and as was stated previously about the property values, as was stated by the builder, it didn't hurt her property values of the property she sold, which sold above the asking price. So, I know you may not want it in your backyard. Nobody does. Nobody wants the landfill in their backyard, but I seriously doubt that there's any indication of anything being detrimental. And if you're concerned about that, and was people that spoke at the Planning Commission who admitted to herding their cows on that property in that watershed. So, there just seems to be a lot of hypocrisy. But the basis of the argument is that property met the criteria for the rezoning, and so it should be rezoned. Thanks.
Anyone else? No one else, okay. Yes, please.
Hello, my name is Debbie Huttenhoff, and I live within a half a mile of where they're proposing to place the new shelter. And we love the SPCA, and we are thankful for them and all that they've done. I have friends over here. I have friends over here. My husband is a veterinarian on Spring Place Road. We used to live over on the north side of town, and because of his work with the animals, we came over to the south side of town. And we have 20 acres. Behind us, we have Wildwood Lake, which is a 20-acre lake. And on our place, we have a spring-fed big acre pond. Next to us, and then the neighbor on the other side on Trewhitt Road has a big pond, and his runs into mine. Mine runs into my neighbor's. They have one, and then theirs runs into Kyle Lake. But, you know, I'm no scientist, and I just think about common sense. If the county did give the property where the shelter is now, they would have $150,000 more dollars to work with. And that property, I know, when we built our house, we had to have topsoil or field dirt, I guess it was, hauled in because it doesn't perk well. And we had to build double wide the footing. We had to put double lines for our septic tank and do all of that. And like I said, we love the SPCA, and we're thankful for them. And we've even worked with them in the past. And so just want to ask you to please consider to keep this residential. Please consider this idea that's come up about that location, which sounds very good. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else? All right. We'll now go to the announcements. Next meeting, voting session, Monday, April 15th at 12 p.m. here at the courthouse. Upcoming events, Ocoee Street Boutique Ribbon Cutting, April the 10th at 4 p.m. 263 North Ocoee Street Finance Committee, April 11th at 1 p.m. Courthouse. Downtown Dine Around, April the 11th, 5 to 8 p.m. downtown. Board of Education meeting, April the 11th at 5 p.m. at the central office. With that, we are adjourned.
Wherever they put the zoning request in, put it in, is that all animals going inside the building. That's the way the zoning was. Now they're saying that they're gonna be outside runs. Just change everything for zoning appearance for them. So it's a zoning issue, could come up at later on. He's got to check it and verify, but that's what he's bred for. You know, so I didn't say that, okay? I've already stuck my foot in my mouth all too many times.
Well, I could always do that too. I'm thinking he will be ready about summer of next year, another year. But yeah, I'd like to. But yeah, think about it.
I ain't seen her in years. If this happens, Phil, how hard would it be to do either sale or whatever? I know you're not.
We'd go through another option.
I was first saying, I know you're not interested in leasing, but that would be the best thing.
All you can.